So I was looking at this study that showed that 60% of millennials that make $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. And when I read that, I was blown away. Like, that is by far enough money for us to be saving and getting ahead. People are doing it making far less. And if you live in California, you live in New York, I understand that, life is more expensive, but 60% of millennials don't live in California and New York. So what we're going to be covering is how to save so that we can keep more of our money and not live paycheck to paycheck and basically start taking steps towards our future. But before we start, please hit the like button. This will help our video get out to more people who may be struggling with saving, and we want to help as much as we can. And if you enjoy the content, subscribe and please go down this journey with us. The model of I'll pay everyone else first, I'll pay my mortgage, rent, utilities, car, food, etc., and then whatever I have left over every month goes to my savings, it's just broken. At the end of the month, we end up with nothing. So the way to change it is to pay yourself first. And what that looks like is when your check comes in, the first thing you do is take 20% of your check and put it in a separate savings account. That is first and foremost. And then all of your bills or paying everyone else comes second. Now, if you can't save 20%, save whatever you can, because we kind of have this view that we'll start saving once we make more money, but it doesn't work that way. The best way to do it is build the discipline first, whether it's saving $10 a month, and then as you start making more money, you're already accustomed to saving money now. Also, something that's really good to do is automate this process. So if your check comes at a certain date, make it so the following day, the 20% is automatically withdrawn and put into that savings account, because it kind of starts putting your savings on autopilot and you really have to stop thinking about it, which is awesome. Also, I'm going to include a link of a video we did all about how to structure your budget when you're paying yourself first. But the broad strokes is when you take the 20% in, it's going to put it into a savings account. What you're first going to start building is your emergency fund, which is about 6 months of your expenses. Then you may want to build like opportunity cash on top of that. And then once you have those two components finished, everything else moves into investments. So link in our comments to watch the full video on how to do this. If this is your first time setting up the pay yourself first model, this may be your first time creating a budget as well. And that's kind of the beauty of it. When you pay yourself first, it forces you to, one, create a budget, because if you don't pay these things that come second, your mortgage, food, rent, something bad can happen. So it creates action, which we like. When you're creating your budget, kind of the general rule of thumb and why we said put 20% into your savings, because that goes into savings. You spend about 50% of your income on anything you really need. Then you have 30% that goes towards wants, the things that are kind of fun to do. And if you're trying to find money, you're going to do this in the wants, because this is kind of the fun money. And for my wife and I, the biggest area that we find money to save is always on food. So I love eating out. That's something that I really enjoy doing. But you're paying more when somebody's making your food. There's maybe a cool vibe. If you have some drinks, cost is going up. Once you get to the point of being a parent and you have kids, now if you want to go alone, you're paying fees for babysitters. So going out becomes a kind of high ticket item, and a big way to scale back on that is to just limit eating out and buy more groceries and make more food at home. Now there's a kicker to getting groceries. And the reality of it is 30 to 40% of Americans waste food by it going bad. And it's actually really common. It happens to us all the time. We buy all these things, we end up not using them, and then they just basically rot in the fridge, and it's a full waste of money. You're wasting $40 for every $100. Okay. You're wasting $40 for every $100 spent. So there is an opportunity to even be more efficient with how you buy groceries. Something that was like really big for us was just meal prepping or planning out the week. And for our family, breakfast and lunch is pretty much the same every day. Dinner changes, but just us kind of saying every Monday we're gonna make pizzas. Every Tuesday is gonna be tacos. It made it so much easier to just buy the things we need, and we had way less food going bad, which meant more money in our pockets. Here's a good mind hack that helps with impulse buying if you struggle with this. But instead of buying something on the spot, give yourself 24 hours and sleep on it. It's actually really impactful, and this is why. We can get a dopamine rush when we go shopping because the anticipation of buying feels really good, and that it can actually be addicting as well. So when you don't buy things on the spot, you sleep on it, just that 24 hours of removing yourself from the situation, 9 times out of 10 you wake up the next day and you don't feel the same urge to buy. Now, sometimes you might wake up and still want it, but just removing the impulse component of it will actually save a lot of money. Here's another hack. Have you heard people joke about millennials and our avocado toast that we basically just piss money away? Tim Gurner said something famously that if millennials ever want to buy a house, they're going to have to stop buying avocado toast and coffee. Now, they're joking about the avocado toast, but the reality is we spend a lot of money on expensive things that we don't necessarily need. And this one hack will actually help you see it in a whole new light. Instead of looking at what you're spending now, start looking at the future cost of your dollars. And what that's going to look like with the avocado example is, let's say the toast is $12 and your coffee's $5. And let's say you're buying that twice a week. That's $136 a month you're spending on the toast and coffee. Well, instead of spending on that, let's say you were to invest in the market every month for the next 30 years, and you were to get the same annual return that the market has historically gotten. Well, you would now have over $250,000 instead of buying the avocado toast. So looking at it through that lens makes it easier to not spend the things you want right now. Also, another mind hack is, again, when we go to buy something, we base it off the cost of the item. But consider that our time has to be sacrificed to earn the money to then pay for the thing. And so when you're looking at buying something, look at it through that lens. How much time am I going to have to sacrifice to buy the thing I want? And a good example would be, let's say you want to buy a $50,000 car and you make $75K a year and you live in California, which means you're going to net $54,000 that year. Considering you work 250 days a year at 8 hours a day, it's going to cost you 1,851 hours of your life to pay for this $50,000 car. So it makes it a little bit easier to justify, is this car worth me spending almost a year of my life just to pay for this one item? So to close, for us to save our money, the best things for us to do: pay yourself first, give yourself 24 hours before purchasing, eat at home, remember the value of your money in the future, and the fact that we have to sacrifice our time to buy things. Thank you guys. I hope this helped. We'll see you guys on the next video.